Before I begin the actual matter of the homily, it bothers me that sometimes words are used or place names that people may or may not know of. Just a quick show of hands. Anybody know who are the Thessalonians that St. Paul is writing to? Thessalonians? Anybody know? Yeah. Gabby, sure. It's a town in Greece, okay? Thessalonica was the ancient name. Today it's called Saloniki. It's a place in Greece. The people of that town, St. Paul was addressing because that was the place in which he had founded a church. St. Paul founded many churches. There was not one church, there were many churches. Today, if he were writing, he would talk to the people in the Church of Piedmont. The name of the place we gather is Corpus Christi, but it's a place. St. Paul is talking to people in a place. Thessalonica, Piedmont, Rome, wherever it might be. The church is located in the reality of this world, okay? And that's how both the first reading from the Hebrew Bible and the second reading from the Gospel fit together. See how important it is that God says, first of all, do not oppress the stranger and the foreigner, because you were once strangers and foreigners. And I came to your rescue. I brought you out of slavery into the house that I have prepared for you. The least you can do is the same for others. And so Jesus centers himself on the same idea. When he's asked what is the greatest commandment in the law, of course, is the strict interpretation of what a good Jew should be all about. And Jesus expands that and says, prophets point to just this one thing: love God and your neighbor as yourself. It's a kind of holy trinity: God, your neighbor, and yourself. And on this, the whole of the law and the prophets depends. The law and the prophets depends. The law and the prophets in Hebrew thinking means the whole of God's revelation to his people. Everything depends upon this one single commandment. Now, I hope that you take home the bulletin and the last of these inserts. And they bridge into all of that on the idea of work and our neighbor. Who is my neighbor at work? Who is my neighbor to begin with? Somebody asked that of Jesus, again, trying to test him. What do you mean by neighbor? Spin that out for me. And he told the story of the Good Samaritan. Anybody that comes your way that is in need, that's your neighbor. Doesn't matter what religion he belongs to, or what part of religion, or where in the world he comes from, or the color of his skin, or the way he worships God or doesn't. Anybody who is in need, that is your neighbor. So in thinking about work and the way our commitment to Christ through our work, we think about the reality of coming together, bringing people together. The Pope is called Pontifex Maximus, which is a title that the popes took from the old Roman emperors, because the popes were the new emperors in medieval Europe. And it means, Pontifex simply means a bridge builder. The Pope, any leader, is meant to be a bridge builder. Pope Francis said quite pointedly, we don't build walls, we make bridges. That's what our faith is all about. We make bridges so that people can pass safely from one side to the other. That's work. That's the work that God gives us to do in our world. It's a work of reconciliation, bringing people together. There is so little of that in our world today. People are being separated more and more, or want to separate themselves. Catalonia separated itself from Spain. The Kurds want to separate themselves from Iraq. Well, they have a point. They lost their land after the First World War, when some British and French people sat down and drew lines on a map and said, this is your country, that's your country, not knowing the people. not knowing anything about the people, separating them. Our work as Christian people is the work of reconciliation. And on the sheet right below that, where it says, do I take the gospel message of reconciliation and love into the places where I live and work, of Pope Francis, and the word pontifex underneath it. He's the bridge builder. So our work as Christians is the work of building bridges, of bringing people together in whatever way we can, in our neighborhoods, in our neighborhoods, in our workplace, doing everything we can to offset this tendency of modern people in the world today to separate themselves. It's sometimes called as the politics of identity. My group counts, and I have to push again. There is some substance to that. If you're black or gay or a woman in this world, yes, you have to push your own place. You deserve your rightful place. But in doing that, it's so important not to separate yourselves in a definitive way from everybody else. We can maintain our own identity and join it with that of others. That's the work of reconciliation. And as always, Jesus makes it so simple, not on his own. He takes it from the second book of the Bible, the book of Exodus, where God says, I am the Lord your God. You shall worship me, not strange, false gods. Worship me. And my one supreme commandment to you is to love. That's the only thing that counts. The only thing that counts. When we appear before God, he won't ask if we've got a PhD, or if we're a CEO of a big company, or if we were the pastor of the parish, or any kind of person who's in charge and works to get to the top. The last shall be first, because the last are included in the love of God as well as the first. So our supreme work as Christians is that love which unites us with God and one another. Couldn't be simpler. Religion is different, of course, from faith. Faith is the gift of God. The term is used abusively. There's no such thing as Catholic faith. We don't have a Catholic faith. We have a faith given to us by God. And it's given to many Christians. Presbyterians, Lutherans, Anglicans. It's one faith. It is given only by God. When you're baptized, you don't receive the faith from the Catholic Church. You have already received faith from God, and the Catholic Church confirms that. Later on, there was a separate, but baptism and confirmation belong together. So there's only one faith. If a Presbyterian decides to become a Catholic, he or she is not baptized again. You can't be baptized more than once. If you've been baptized, you're baptized into the one faith. Simplicity comes before everything else in our worship and in our life as people devoted to God in Christ. God gives us this faith. He asks us to share it with others, not only by talking about it or thinking about it, but by doing the things like the Good Samaritan and like those who accept strangers and refugees, who welcome those who are outside and try to bring them in. Building bridges, bringing people together, that is our work as members of Christ. We come together this morning in this Holy Eucharist to celebrate that and to receive the strength from the body and blood of Christ to live that faith and to make it the guiding light of all that we do in our lives. We are grateful for that, and that's why we call it Eucharist. It's thanksgiving. We thank God for the gift He has given us, and we ask for the grace to spread that gift in every way that we possibly can.